Imagine this. You decide to start running every morning. Day one, you're pumped. You put on your sneakers, hit the road, and feel amazing. Day two, you're still excited. By day five, well, you're kind of dragging your feet. And by week two, your running shoes are collecting dust under the bed. Sounds familiar?
We've all been there. Whether it's working out, eating healthy, reading more, or waking up early, we start strong. But somewhere along the way, life gets in the way. And before we know it, we're back to our old habits. Why does this happen?
Well, today we're diving into a book that answers exactly that. Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book isn't about motivation, it's about systems. How small daily changes can completely transform your life.
And we're not just summarizing this book, we're giving you the full breakdown in a way that makes you feel like you've already read it. By the end of this episode, you'll know the exact strategies to build good habits, break bad ones, and take control of your life.
So, if you've ever felt stuck in bad habits or struggled to make a change that actually lasts, stick around. This episode is for you. Okay, before we dive into the key strategies of this book, let's talk about why it even matters. Why should you care about habits? And how can tiny, almost unnoticeable changes actually transform your life?
Well, James Clear explains it perfectly. He says that success isn't about making one huge change overnight. It's about the small decisions you make every single day. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly have the perfect body, or become fluent in a new language, or double your income. Instead, it's the tiny daily habits, the ones that seem insignificant in the moment, that determine your success over time.
He gives this crazy example. If you improve by just 1% every day, that might not seem like much, right? But do the math. And by the end of a year, you won't just be 365% better, you'll be 37 times better than when you started. That's the power of compounding habits.
And here's the flip side. If you let bad habits take over, even just 1% at a time, your progress doesn't just stay the same, it declines. You don't notice it at first, but over months and years, those small bad decisions add up, and suddenly, you're in a place you never wanted to be.
So here's the deal, this book isn't about motivation. It's about building systems that make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. And that's exactly what we're breaking down today.
So, if you've ever struggled to stick to new habits, or wondered why some people just seem to have it all together while you're stuck in the same old cycle, this episode is going to change the way you think about success.
All right, now that we know how small habits shape our future, let's dive into the key lessons from Atomic Habits, the ones that will help you actually start making those tiny changes today.
There are three big ideas we're covering. First, how habits are formed. Second, how to make good habits stick and bad habits disappear. And third, how your environment can make or break your success.
Let's start with the first one, the habit loop.
James Clear explains that every habit follows a four-step loop: cue, craving, response, and reward.
Let's break it down with a simple example, checking your phone. First, there's a cue. Maybe you hear a notification or feel bored. That triggers a craving. You want to see what's happening. So you take action, the response. You check your phone. And finally, you get the reward. A quick hit of dopamine from a new message or post. And boom, that loop repeats over and over until it becomes a habit.
And this happens with everything, from scrolling social media to brushing your teeth to procrastinating on work. Once a habit is wired into this loop, it runs on autopilot.
So if we want to build good habits and break bad ones, we have to learn how to hack this loop. And that brings us to the 4 laws of behavior change.
James Clear gives us 4 powerful rules that determine whether a habit will stick. If you want to build a habit, you need to make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. If you want to break a habit, do the opposite, make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying.
All right, let's go one by one with simple examples.
The first step to building a habit is making it obvious. If you don't see it, you won't do it. Let's say you want to drink more water. If your water bottle is hidden in your bag, you'll forget. But if you place it on your desk in plain sight, you'll naturally reach for it.
And if you want to break a bad habit, make the cue invisible, trying to cut down on junk food, don't keep chips in your house.
We naturally do things we enjoy. So, to build a habit, link it to something you love. This is called temptation bundling. Like, I will only listen to my favorite podcast while I go for a walk. Now, you actually look forward to your walk.
And if you want to quit a habit, make it unattractive. If you're trying to cut down on social media, remind yourself how much time it wastes. Imagine seeing a pop-up that says, you just wasted 2 hours. Every time you opened an app, make it easy or make bad habits difficult.
The harder a habit is, the less likely you'll do it. So, to make habits stick, reduce friction. Want to work out? Set out your gym clothes the night before. Want to read more? Keep a book by your bed.
And for bad habits, make them difficult. Want to stop checking your phone at night? Put it in another room so you physically have to get up to grab it. Make it satisfying or make bad habits unsatisfying.
If something feels rewarding, you'll do it again. This is why tracking habits works. Checking off a box on a habit tracker feels satisfying.
And if you want to quit a habit, make it unsatisfying. Find an accountability partner. Tell a friend, if I don't wake up early this week, I owe you $10. Trust me, money is a great motivator. Environment design. Set yourself up for success.
Most people think motivation is the key to success, but Atomic Habits proves that your environment matters more than your willpower.
Think about it. If your goal is to eat healthy but your kitchen is full of junk food, you're making success harder. If your goal is to focus at work but your phone is sitting next to you, notifications going off, distractions are inevitable.
James Clear says to design your environment for success. Want to read more? Leave books around your house. Want to go to the gym? Put your workout clothes next to your bed the night before? Want to stop watching TV? Hide the remote.
In short, if you shape your environment, you shape your habits. And that, over time, shapes your future. Recap of key concepts.
All right, let's quickly recap. We covered 3 big ideas from Atomic Habits.
The habit loop. Every habit follows. Cue, craving, response, reward.
The 4 laws of behavior change. Make habits. Obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying. Environment design. Set up your surroundings for success.
Master these and you'll be on your way to lasting change. Okay, so we've covered how habits work and the 4 laws of behavior change. But let's get real for a second. How do you actually apply this in everyday life?
Great question. Because knowledge is useless if we don't use it. So let's talk about some real-life examples of how people, including us, have used these strategies to completely change their habits.
I'll go first. I always struggled with writing consistently. I knew I wanted to write every day, but I'd either forget, get distracted, or just not feel like it. Then I applied habit stacking, which is when you attach a new habit to something you already do.
Right. So what did you stack writing with?
My morning coffee. I told myself, after I make coffee, I will write 1 sentence. Just 1 sentence, that's it. And guess what? Once I wrote one, I usually kept going. Now I write every single morning without thinking about it.
That's exactly how I started my reading habit. I used to want to read before bed, but I'd always end up scrolling on my phone instead. So I used environment design. I put my book right on my pillow. Now, when I go to bed, my book is the first thing I see. It's made reading feel effortless.
See, that's the thing. When you make habits easy and obvious, they happen automatically. And when you make bad habits hard and invisible, they disappear.
Exactly. So here's our challenge to you. Think of one small habit you want to build. Now ask yourself, how can you make it easier? How can you attach it to something you already do? How can you design your environment for success?
It's not about huge overnight changes, it's about small, consistent wins. And trust us, those wins add up faster than you think. All right, let's bring it all together. If you take just one thing from this episode, let it be this: your habits shape your future. It's not about motivation, it's about systems. Small, consistent improvements, just 1% better every day, lead to huge transformations over time.
And remember, the secret to habits is in the 4 laws of behavior change. Make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. If you can master these, you can literally reprogram your life.
So here's our challenge for you: pick one small habit, just one. Maybe it's drinking more water, reading every day, or waking up earlier. Now, apply what we learned today. Make it easy, make it obvious, and make it rewarding. Try it for the next 7 days and see what happens.
And we'd love to hear from you. What's your biggest takeaway from Atomic Habits? Did something click for you today? Message us or leave a comment. We read every single one.
Oh, and don't forget, you get to choose our next book. What do you want us to break down next on this podcast? Let us know, and we might feature your pick in the next episode.
Speaking of next episode, we're diving into the 7 habits of highly effective people. If you've ever wondered how successful people think and act, this is one you don't want to miss.
So hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time on the English Story Podcast. Until then, keep building those habits and creating the life you want.